Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. Good to be with you. I'm Don Hudson. It had never happened before until last week. The United States House of Representatives voting to remove the Speaker of the House from that leadership position. Now, it followed a deal to keep the federal government open temporarily and makes the effort to reach a long-term agreement more complicated. One of our lawmakers was right in the middle of the maneuvering and voted against Kevin McCarthy. We're going to hear from him in a moment. But first, Rashad Hudson from our D.C. Bureau looks at the vote as McCarthy says he will not run to get his position back.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
In a historic move, the House voted to remove Kevin McCarthy from his job as Speaker. Now, Congressman McCarthy says he won't try to take the gavel back.
I'll have the conference pick somebody else.
The campaign to replace him has started. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, a conservative hardliner, was the first to jump in the race.
Are you planning to run for the Speaker position?
No, we are.
Yeah, we are. You are? Yeah.
Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise, a McCarthy ally currently serving as Majority Leader, says he wants to be Speaker. Oklahoma Republican Kevin Hern says he's also considering a bid.
I'm probably one of the most conservative members in Congress.
Hern, Scalise, and Jordan met with the Texas Republican delegation on Wednesday, hoping to lock in support from the state's 25 Republicans. But House Democrats are standing by their decision to vote against former Speaker McCarthy.
It's laughable that they're trying to blame the Democrats. This is a party that for 9 months has not engaged one time with House Democrats, has not worked across the aisle.
The House isn't expected to vote on a speaker until next week. Until then, the work to fund the government is put on pause.
We have a lot of work to do, and the American people expect us to get it done.
Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson, back to you.
And as you probably know by now, Congressman Tim Burchett from right here in Knoxville joined with 7 fellow Republicans in the vote to vacate McCarthy's speakership. Burchett spoke Wednesday night with News Nation's Chris Cuomo about a phone call which apparently swayed his vote.
And I was on one of your rivals. I won't say their name, but I just said, I said, how are you going to make that decision? I said, well, honestly, I'm going to pray about it. I asked God to, he's done pretty well for me. And oddly enough, one of my best friends, guy I've known longer than anybody. We were at Little Red Schoolhouse together, this pre-K thing back in the early 70s. And he called me. He's having heart surgery in a couple of weeks. And he was more worried about me after he saw what was in the news. And he said, and I told him, kind of my dilemma. And he said, brother, he said, you've always trusted your conscience. That served you well. And I thought, yeah, okay. And so I was praying about it. Well, I told that story on the other station. And lo and behold, the speaker called me, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it was between us. But it was condescending, I thought, and I felt like, I said I was praying about it, and I just didn't feel. It made after I was over with, because then it just went into it's like his opening salvo, and then it just went, and he said, well, what? Oh, sorry. He said, what else? And I said, well, I was concerned about, we never brought up a term limits bill. And then he said, well, that's because the committee didn't do something. And then I talked to a member who carried that bill early this morning about 5:30, I guess, or 4:30, I'm not sure. And he explained to me what really went down on that. And it wasn't as it was portrayed to me. And then I said, well, why didn't we come in the month of August? We usually take August off, but then we took 2 weeks off in September, Chris. 6 weeks, and we knew September 30th was the end of our fiscal year. And, he said, well, I don't make the schedule. And I just thought, man, Nancy Pelosi, she knew how many reams of paper we were losing single-ply or two-ply toilet paper in the bathrooms. And so, it just piled up on me. And then after I hung up with him, because when I took the call, I thought, it's Washington. I could switch my vote, and nobody, it's Washington. Nobody tells the truth up here anyway. So then I started thinking about it, and I thought, that's not where I want to be, and that's not the character of who I want to be. Have that speaker's gavel, and he since said on the news that that's not what he meant. I misunderstood, but what's done is done. I'm not dwelling on it. I just it's just unfortunate, and I fully expect to have opposition, well-funded opposition, and they will try to take me out in the primary.
Let me ask you something. Are people
Yes, sir.
okay with your vote, or are you getting a lot of heat for causing disruption by ousting the speaker?
Well, a lot of my well-heeled contributors, the chamber crowd, as I like to call them, they are pulling off of me pretty hard. And but the rank and file, and I picked up some. So, I've never been the darling of the elite crowd. It's not my people.
Congressman Burchett pretty candid there, as he was with our D.C. reporter Joe Khalil, sitting down and talking with the Tennessee Republican on the Capitol steps.
Yeah, I went down a path. I said I was going to, I knew I'd lose a friend if I voted against Kevin McCarthy, but then my conscience was telling me that he needed to go. We had 6 weeks away from here, and we knew when September 30th was going to happen, because it happens about this time every year. And yet we decided to take that time off and then back us up against the wall, which they always do. Leadership and the people in power love to do that. And then we panic, and we're going to close the government down. But the thing I fear more than 3 days of closing the government down is how this is going to affect that little single mom who's working two jobs to put food on the table for her 2 or 3 kids. And then we just keep devaluing the dollar bill with inflation and with this crazy out of control spending. We take in $5 trillion a year. We spend in. We take in $5 trillion a year, and we spend $7 trillion. And you cannot do that.
So, I think the country is now wondering what comes next. Do you have an alternative? What can we expect to see from you all to fill the void that now exists because you, some other Republicans, and Democrats voted the Speaker of the House out?
Well, fortunately, we have a very deep bench. We've got some really great people there. Tom Cole, Mark Green out of Tennessee, Tom Emmert.
Do any of them want the job?
Steve Scalise. Come on.
I mean, none of them have expressed that, have they yet? Or have they? You can make some news here.
It's dead air. You better say something, because I'm not going to say anything.
I was waiting for you. I mean, so talk to us about what the deliberation is like.
This is new ground for everybody. I'm not sure what they'll do.
You heard a moment ago about the now former Speaker's decision not to seek the leadership role again. Burchett and other Republicans responded after McCarthy made the announcement behind closed doors, and lawmakers surprised some by making plans to just head home, with the leadership question still up in the air.
What was the room like? Tell us what happened in there.
They were cheering for him, of course, and then he graciously decided not to run again. I think that's a wise decision.
So what's the next? I mean, you all couldn't have had enough time to decide who you're going to rally around. Is it going to be?
I think a lot of people have some good ideas. I'm throwing all my dice into the Andy Ogles camp.
So what happens next? Is there going to be a vote tonight, or is the plan to adjourn?
Yeah, we're out. I think what they say, Andy, till Tuesday.
Tuesday night.
Wait. You're out until Tuesday night?
Next Tuesday.
Patrick McHenry
has gavels you all out until next Tuesday night.
Congressman Chuck Fleischmann took to Twitter to react to all this, praising McCarthy's work over the last 9 months, but addressing the need for stability. He said, quote, "The American people expect us to continue to govern, reign in government, and deliver common sense conservative solutions to fix our country. We must quickly elect a new speaker." And as reporter Ella Wales shows us, Congressman Burchett broke not just with most of the people in his party to vote, but also the rest of his GOP colleagues from Tennessee.
Representative Tim Burchett said the decision to vote to oust House Speaker Kevin McCarthy wasn't an easy one. After just narrowly avoiding a government shutdown, Burchett says he's frustrated after ending up with only a temporary budget solution again.
And we keep saying we're going to change it after the next time. Oh, it's the Burchett, vote for this thing, and we'll change it the next time. Well, I've been here 5 years, and the next time never comes.
Burchett was the only Tennessee Republican to vote against the Speaker. Representative Diana Harshbarger said in a statement that the House was on track to fund the government through appropriations bills. She said in a statement, quote, "It is shameful that instead of keeping that promise and focusing on the issues that impact everyday Americans, we have chosen to air personal grievances and fight amongst each other," unquote. She also called out members of her own party that voted to oust the Speaker, saying, quote, "I wish that Republicans were this determined to fight against the Democrats' disastrous policies instead of attacking one another." Burchett hopes that once the 45-day bill is up, the parties can come to an agreement.
I would love if we would take up a budget, get with the Democrats, find out what they want, get with our folks, see what we want, and see what we can pass.
The 45-day bill will expire November 17th. In Knoxville, Ella Wales, WATE 6, on your side.
Still to come, our panel of pundits. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WAT 6 on your side. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. We're now joined by our panel of pundits, Cortney Piper, a political contributor, Craig Griffith, our healthcare analyst, and Michael Covington here, our industrial consultant. And we're so busy here at the station that I'm having to come from an edit bay, so I don't have the nice background that the rest of you have right now. But we want to talk about Speaker of the House. Kevin McCarthy obviously voted out. 8 Republicans, including Tennessee's Tim Burchett, voted for that to happen. We heard his reasoning. You've heard his reasoning. He talked to Chris Cuomo, saying that McCarthy's phone call to him may have backfired. Was this the right play for him? And will he regret it at all from his party? And we start with Michael.
You know, I think Representative Burchett did the right thing. He stood by his convictions, and he sought to have a genuine conversation with Speaker McCarthy, and I think he felt a certain disingenuousness about his responses, especially as related to his faith and how he hoped to be guided in his decision by his faith. Speaker McCarthy, he signed a deal with the devil earlier this year when he made that deal to do everything that this far-right group dictated that he do, and they held his feet to the fire.
Courtney or Craig?
Well, this whole process, as Michael mentioned, was inevitable. When they made the rule to get him elected speaker to where only one person could file a motion to vacate, you knew at some point in time someone was going to get mad and this was going to come to a vote.
Right.
And, in terms of Tim, yes, I think that he... it just shows that all politics are personal. It's all about relationships. McCarthy did not attempt to develop a relationship with Congressman Burchett or any of the other 8 individuals that wound up costing him the speakership. So it's all just it's people. It's managing people. It's doing relationships with people, and they failed miserably on that. And of course, Tim doesn't come out of this looking like roses either. I mean, they all siding with the Democrats passed the CR as part of the reason that this whole thing came up. And I do agree with Congressman Burchett that, they should have spent a whole lot more time developing the appropriations legislations and bills, the 12 bills, that the only thing they really have to do is pass the budget, but yet they don't seem to be able to do that. They took the whole month of August off, as Congressman Burchett pointed out, and they didn't take up what they needed to do. But on the other hand, in July, when they could have been looking at the budget and making some decisions about spending, Congressman Burchett was looking for UFOs and little green men in congressional hearings. That certainly isn't having your eye on the ball. That's certainly not getting down to what Congress really needs to do, pass those budgets. So he needs to practice a little bit what he preaches.
Courtney, will this cost him anything politically?
Well, the Republican Party in the U.S. Congress is in turmoil. They are in chaos. They have lost the ability to govern themselves. And our congressman played a role in that front and center. There's no Speaker of the House that has ever been ousted before in the history of the United States. So this is historic, and it remains to be seen how Republicans are going to get it together and be able to govern themselves. This situation could be slightly similar to what we saw in the earlier part of the in the Tennessee General Assembly, where it took all the Democrats getting together and one independent voting for himself in order for Kent Williams to get the speakership, even though Republicans had control of the Tennessee General Assembly. So, what we saw was it only took 8 Republicans to oust the speaker and all the Democrats getting together. So could a similar scenario unfold where Democrats and only about 8 Republicans are the one who selects the next speaker? It could be a very powerful move for our country, and it could actually bring a little bit more order to the chaos that has been in the House of Representatives.
Well, we want to get into that as well, but first, just back to Congressman Burchett, is there anybody that could even challenge him, or is he's that safe that this won't cost him?
Well, never say never in politics.
This district that he's in is pretty faith-based, and for him to stand up and say that I was going to follow my prayer on this decision and following through on that commitment isn't going to hurt him at the ballot box. And like you point out, it's who's going to challenge him. Certainly nobody on the Democratic side has been able to. So if some Republican pops up and says you did the wrong thing on the speakership, that it might carry some weight, but in the end, I think Tim is probably there as long as he wants to be in Washington.
Based on some of the names we're hearing, Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan, I'm hearing people say Donald Trump, because you don't have to be a House member just to do that in the interim until January. Who ends up being the next speaker?
Don Hudson.
Yeah, Don. Yes. I would just enjoy hitting that gavel.
If I was any one of those people, if they don't change the rule about one person bringing a motion to vacate, then why would they do that? Mm-hmm. That would be the first thing that I would say. If you want me to be speaker, change that rule.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be
I
think there's going to be a surprise and a twist and a turn, and the new Speaker of the House might not be, their name might not even be out there yet.
No. And Michael?
I would say Jim Jordan, just because Steve Scalise is so closely aligned with McCarthy. I think that the easier choice is Jim Jordan.
Does the chaos, last question on this and we'll move away, does chaos cost the Republicans in the next election?
What are we down to 39 days now you have to pass a budget? I mean, they postponed the vote on the budget for 45 days and they're spending 10 days at least trying to figure out who the speaker is. And so there's no negotiating going on what happens in 45 days. So if the government does shut down, I think that can affect Republicans because no matter how they spin it, the public knows that they're the fault here, that the Republicans are the people that are shutting down the government.
Cortney?
The political consequences of this are yet to be seen because there's really no consequence for the American people to just have all this yelling and screaming and bickering unless something happens where the government actually shuts down and closes. I mean, that's a consequence because people are not going to get their paychecks. So unless an actual consequence happens, I don't know what the political ramifications might be.
Michael, final word?
I think voters are far more sophisticated than we give them credit for. If you're voting in if you're voting in November or you're voting in the election next November in 2024, you know who you're going to vote for. This chaos in Washington will not deter voters from voting who they believe in. And so I don't think there'll be that much of a consequence.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and from Washington, we'll come back to Tennessee. A few topics a lot closer to home. We'll be right back in Tennessee This Week. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. Next topic here, a new school coming to Farragut, but, you can just figure out which type of school. Is it high school, middle school, elementary school? Not a whole lot of facts to go along with this big purchase. The school board voted 7-1 to buy 41 acres at about $5 million. Off of Kingston Pike and Bourning Road. I'm just curious, and we'll start with Cortney. Is that a smart move to get it even before you know exactly what you want to do with it, especially in that area where property is getting gobbled up?
It's definitely a smart move to grab the property when you know you need to build a new school. The issue is there was seemed to be a lot of miscommunication over how Knox County Schools was making a decision to build what kind of school. And it sowed a lot of mistrust within the community about the school system's motives for buying this property, which caused a firestorm of debate between public and teachers and the school board and the administration during this month's school board meeting.
Michael, you've been reading up on it.
We're going to build a school. Eventually, we're going to build a school. And what kind of school it is, I don't know that it really matters. I have to trust the school board to make the best school building decision. I think they've made a good decision purchasing the land. There will be those that will be against it, but I think it's a good thing.
Well, having been involved in governmental attempts at land acquisition, it's very difficult. Especially when you're looking at large parcels like a school would need to build on. So the part of it, we need to buy it now because it'll probably be gone by the end of the year is true, I think. But the county shouldn't be land banking. They don't have the resources to buy properties and then decide, well, maybe not. And I think they need to be flexible, give them the flexibility to, is it an elementary school or is it a middle school? What does the population trends look like, and which size and which type of school is going to be beneficial to the residents of Farragut and Knox County? So, I think it's not necessarily putting the cart before the horse, but they seem to be going along in parallel tracks. Yeah. So the schools need to definitely come up with the plan that they're going to use.
We'll continue to follow that issue. We have just about 3 minutes left. And before we wanted to wrap this up today, we definitely wanted to talk about Knox County Deputy Tucker Blakely. Wanted to get your thoughts on what happened and really the community's outpouring of support since it happened. And Craig, we can start with you.
Well, I mean, my thoughts and prayers actually go out, to his the family of the deputy and the entire Knox County sheriff's family. This is a terrible tragedy. It reminds you of the potential dangers once you put your uniform on when you go out on patrol. Of course, this has been, it's been 30 some odd years since there was an officer killed in the line of duty, but. And I think, Don, as you know, officers are injured every week in car wrecks, in confrontations with suspects. So while they aren't killed, it still is a hazardous job. They get injured on the job almost every week. So I salute everyone who's in law enforcement for the job that they do to protect the public. And again, my heart, thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the fallen officer.
Hey, Cortney.
It's such a tragic set of circumstances and situation. And like Craig said, I think it reminds the public what a dangerous job it actually is to be a sheriff's deputy or a police officer, that, calling on something like a domestic violence call in Hardin Valley, can result in loss of life. I actually, I work downtown. My office is downtown. So when I drove home from work last week, I saw the memorial that was outside in the back of the city county building. There was a deputy vehicle, and there were flowers and signs and photographs surrounding that vehicle as a memorial to Deputy Blakely. So, and that was just an incredibly moving scene for me to look at just driving home from work. And so, it reminds me, and I think reminds the general public, that our sheriff's deputies play such a critical role in protecting our safety. And, it's not just them, it's their families that are making this commitment too. And we thank them for that.
And Michael, I'm sorry, we have about 30 seconds.
My heart goes out to the deputy's family and prayers as well. I give thanks for the service that law enforcement provides us. And when I see them in stores and when I see them on the street, I thank them for the service just like I thank veterans. So I'm glad they're there, and I'm sorry for this tragedy.
Yeah, nothing but respect and love for officers who go out and do the things that they do. And we certainly want to keep his wife and his son and his extended family in our prayers. I want to thank our panel for being with us. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 of your side or Next Star Broadcasting.